The New York Times paywall by Sanya Hart. Is the paywall working? Why or why not? Yes, the paywall system is working. Although the first two trials ended in failure, ultimately the new paywall system has some promising features. I believe brand loyalty has kept the New York Times as one of the nation's leading newspapers. There will always be critics of the paywall system. However, I believe consumers who value accredited news sources such as the New York Times will continue to pay, and new consumers will continue to grow. How would you evaluate the current paywall compared with the two prior ones? The current paywall system is more successful than the prior two paywall systems because it allows the paper an opportunity to grab new paying customers. The last two pay models did not have that option. This model allows the declining revenue to slowly rise and keep the paper from totally going under due to the rise of the internet. I believe it is appropriately designed because it allows access to as opposed to no access, which could ultimately gain a new customer following such as the Generation Y group. Do you think it is appropriately designed compared with the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal? The current paywall system is a hybrid system. It allows restricted access, giving the consumer a chance to become a subscriber as opposed to no access in the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal. This design could ultimately gain a new customer following, such as the Generation Y group, as previously discussed. Why are the newspapers in trouble? The newspapers are in trouble because the internet gives consumers the ability to obtain news at the tip of their fingers. There is less need for the physical paper when news is available on the go. Furthermore, with the rate of technology constantly evolving, digital devices will continue to get smarter and faster. What is the goal of the New York Times in creating the paywall? The goal is to capture new paying customers. With the birth of the internet, the newspaper industry has to implement a new strategy to close the gap in the decline in physical subscriptions. Should the New York Times actively manage its transition from print to digital? Absolutely. The New York Times, along with all the other newspapers in the industry, must actively manage their transition from print to digital. There is no way around it. Social media, bloggers, and other internet sources are at the forefront of instant messaging. Consumers are getting the news faster than papers can print. The New York Times strategy should be to hold a strong footing in the digital world and the physical one. There is money to be made in both. Does the paywall seem like a good strategy for newspapers in general? I don't believe all newspapers should adopt the paywall system. National newspapers such as the New York Times would benefit from the paywall system because of the brand loyalty and the national recognition it has acquired. Local newspapers would not benefit from the paywall system because local news is easily accessible through social media. Plus, local news channels report the local news for free over the television. Profits versus free. To me, this is a no-brainer, although critics would say the news should be a free enterprise system. Why not charge for access to a nationally known, prize-winning newspaper? Those papers pay a high premium for their talent. The money has to come from somewhere. I believe if the New York Times wants to continue to maintain a strong brand name, they should remain a for-profit business. Why should it matter what form the newspapers delivered, digital or physical? Consumers should pay. My conclusion. It is my opinion that people will continue to pay for great journalism. Sure, there's Facebook, Twitter, and all other social media outlets, but when's the last time a social media group has won awards for great journalism? When's the last time Facebook has been a credible source of information? Professionals, educators, and students rely on credible journalism. Credible journalism comes at a price, and that price should be passed on to the consumer in order to maintain brand equity.